Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition to the Point Podcast. Was doing well on this Thursday. A lot to get into today. Lots of crazy couple games in the NHL and NBA last night. We got a pair of NHL games upcoming tonight. A pair of game sixes. So we'll get into that as the show goes on. Just saw before the podcast started, just reading some articles that Ray Liotta has died. If you haven't seen Goodfellas, or if you're not familiar with, really a great franchise of films with The Sopranos and Goodfellas and The Irishman and those type of movies, Ray was really a key, a centerpiece of those films. Goodfellas, I consider one of the best movies of all time. It's a phenomenal film. So yeah, sad to see Ray Liotta pass away. He was a great actor. I just heard him interviewed actually a few weeks ago, and it's being reported that he just died in his sleep, so it wasn't anything nefarious or anything like that. But no, it's sad. He's only 67 years old, still acting, still very much in the scene, still relevant. So sad to hear about Ray Liotta, but a great career nonetheless, and all the best to his family as they go through the grieving process. Wow, last night's Colorado St. Louis game was a stunner. It was surprising. It was a rare night where I was ready to go to bed. I was like, well, maybe I'll go to sleep because the Miami Heat Boston Celtic game was putting me to sleep, and I'm like, well, this game's out of hand. Maybe I'll shut her down and have a realistic sleep schedule for once. But then, St. Louis scores one. I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of interesting now. And then it's 3-2. And of course, I can't go to bed. And before you know it, it's in overtime and I don't get much sleep. But don't worry about me. It's not all about me. I mean, it's a lot about me, but it's not all about me. But then I look back at the game and I'm thinking, how the hell did St. Louis win? How did this happen? Because I've watched a lot of hockey. I've watched a lot of Colorado the last couple of years because, quite frankly, in the regular season, they were the most entertaining team to watch in all of the NHL. The way with McKinnon and Rantanen and Landeskog and they play in McCarr. They play a really impressive, really fun style of hockey. But in all those games that I've seen in these playoffs, I don't think I've seen a better game from Nathan MacKinnon. From the drop of the puck last night, he was a man on a mission. Players say they don't hear stuff from the media. They say they don't, they don't watch other games, whatever. They're focused in on their series. Okay, baloney. But I think a guy like Nathan MacKinnon, I don't think he's an egomaniac, but like everybody, he has an ego. And I'm sure he's been hearing about Connor McDavid, how McDavid's been so dominant. He's playing unbelievable hockey. And even Steve Dryden of TSN wrote the other day that he is undoubtedly the greatest hockey player of all time. So he's not just the best player in these playoffs. He might just be the best player of all time to some. Well, for a period of time, Nathan MacKinnon was right there. There was times he was with Connor McDavid, and going into this season, I think I remember the top 50 poll, McDavid was not a unanimous number one, and MacKinnon was taking up those spots, not a Draisaitl, not a Matthews. But he had a lackluster season. He was injured. He was inconsistent all year long. He wasn't on the ice long enough to keep himself relevant, if you will. And it was just a season to forget for Nathan MacKinnon. So with all that being said, I think he saw this. I think he started to process it. And his Colorado team had been winning the series 3-1, where Nathan MacKinnon really was a non-factor. Cale Makar's been great. Nazem Kadri. Darcy Kemper's been solid. It was never about Nathan MacKinnon. Prior to last night, he didn't have a goal in the series. But the first two periods in particular, I've never seen him play like that. He was all over the puck. He lost it. He'd track it down. He got great scoring opportunities, and he scores 2 goals in the first period. He is so fast. His skating style is not like McDavid's, where McDavid's a very elegant skater. It looks effortless. It's not, McKinnon skates like he's stuck in mud, and it's like he's an F-150, and he's going through. I shouldn't say F-150 because I hate Ford, but he's driving a nice Chevy Sierra, okay? And he's stuck in the mud, and the wheels are going, but you got enough power because you're driving a Chevy and not a Ford, and you get through it. You get through that mud pit, but it took you a little bit longer to get there than, say, the GMC Denali. So you got 2 great vehicles, 2 great players, but they just do it different ways, although they get to the same location just differently. But MacKinnon, his skating style is so frantic, it's so aggressive, and it just comes at you. He in waves. So he's fun to watch because you never know what he's going to give you. But last night, I truly think it was the best game I've ever seen him play. And saying all that, and his brilliance remains, Colorado somehow lost the game. Where Josh Manson had a great opportunity on a 2-on-1, robbed by Husso. MacKinnon was unbelievable. I thought Makar had a really good game. And you're looking at it, you're saying, wait, did Colorado lose on home ice after being up 3-0 in the first period, no less? Also, Colorado lost after getting a lead 4-3 on the MacKinnon hat-trick goal with under 3 minutes left, and they allowed St. Louis to tie the game. How did this happen? I'm still trying to figure it out when it comes to the momentum of the game. I will say this. Credit to St. Louis, because they could have easily packed it in last night. Because in that first period, it was not close. It was Colorado, whoever else was in the building, and St. Louis was finishing third when it comes to who were the best 2 teams on the ice. They weren't even close to that style of game. They were chasing it, and thank God for Ville Husso for having a pulse. He hasn't been great in these playoffs. He made some key saves last night that ultimately led to a win. But I thought you got Devon Taves and Makar. I'm still going to talk about Colorado because I still think they're going to win this series. But I said on yesterday's show, if St. Louis is going to win last night, it's going to be because of certain players. The AARP line with Ryan O'Reilly and David Perron, Brandon Saad have done everything that they can possibly do. Perron has 9 goals. O'Reilly's been fantastic. He's kept MacKinnon to a low roar for 4 of the 5 games of the series. You'll take that every day of the week. But Vladimir Tarasenko and Robert Thomas, 2 great players, have just been really quiet. Too quiet if you're going to beat a team like Colorado. And you're down 3-0. And who stepped up? It was those guys. The first 3 goals of the game, Tarasenko, Thomas. Robert Thomas had not scored a goal in 20 straight playoff games. He scores 2 last night, including the game-tying goal with under 40 seconds to play. He made some clutch plays. He was in it. Tarasenko had legs. These guys knew what was on them last night. They didn't give in. They didn't quit. And, I don't love Ville Husso as much as I like Binnington. If it was 3-2 going back to St. Louis, then you have a game set. Who knows what can happen in a game 7? I have more faith in St. Louis. Husso did make some big saves. I got to credit him. I thought he came up big in spurts last night. It doesn't look great. He gave up 4 goals. Well, their defending wasn't great either for St. Louis. But if St. Louis is going to win tomorrow night at home and force a Game 7 back in Denver, Colorado, Thomas and Tarasenko have to continue to be elite players. They have to continue to score goals. They have to take advantage of the other lines on Colorado. McKinnon line was going. Nobody else really had it last night. Early in the game, the Kadri line got some good opportunities, but that kind of fizzled out early. They didn't have a great game last night, quite frankly. So you look around and you're like, well, if they're quiet, we got to be better than them because we line up next to them. And then you got to hope. I mean, the Colorado fourth line is veteran laden. You got Darren Helm, you got Andrew Cogliano, you got O'Connor playing on that line. It's more of a checking. It's not going to score you many goals. So maybe you can find something there. You have to look at the bottom of the roster and hope that you can outplay them. Jack Johnson's playing minutes for Colorado. You got to take advantage of that. Eric Johnson even is a guy that you should be able to take advantage of if you're St. Louis. You get on the ice against them, see what you can do. But in saying all of that, what is crazy, and this is so NHL and this is so the playoffs, the overtime winner is scored by Tyler Bozak, who, obviously is known for being a former Toronto Maple Leaf, won a Stanley Cup with St. Louis a few years ago. He's been on waivers, healthy scratch. He's been through it all in St. Louis. He's definitely on the back end of his career. Just for reference, Tyler Bozak only played 7 minutes and 16 seconds last night. That was the second fewest minutes of anybody on the team, just behind Nathan Walker. But he gets a shift in overtime, and he worth his while, where he scores the overtime winner, his second of the postseason. So you got to credit Bozak and you got to credit Craig Berube for putting a veteran player on the ice in that situation. He had 2 shifts in the third period. He has 1 in overtime. He finds the back of the net. So an unlikely hero, but that's the playoffs. Patrick Maroon scored a game-winning goal the other night for Tampa. You see, I mentioned Andrew Kopp has been fantastic for the New York Rangers. So sometimes it's the guys you least expect that can just produce and have a big moment for you. Another big reason why the St. Louis Blues won last night. Colton Parayko and Nick Leddy were unbelievable. Plus minus is a stat I hate. I don't look at it. I find it irrelevant. But I do look at, okay, who did Parayko go up against the most last night? He went up against McKinnon a ton. He played almost every second time he was on the ice, he was on against McKinnon. And you're thinking, well, if he's on against McKinnon, he definitely got torched. Parayko finished last night with a -1. Now, for some old school thinkers, that's the worst game ever, and you'll never recover from a -1 game. That's for the minutes he played, 18 minutes against McKinnon last night of his 28 that he played. It's pretty good in that span. So Parayko played 28 minutes, big minutes. They're always tough. He's a number 1 defenseman, even if people don't want to hear it. He is. Nick Leddy, a deadline acquisition, gets 2 points last night, including an assist on the game winner. He plays 23 minutes. Their defense is different now that he's back. They needed him. They're still playing Mikkola, who they'd love to have Torrey Krug back, but he's already been ruled out for Game 6. But having Scandella, having Leddy on these defensive pairings, you're adding a physical nature. You're adding something different to those defense pairings that make them tougher to play against. Because if you think about it last night, it was only the McKinnon line that gave you anything for Colorado. Their next best scoring chance was Josh Manson's shorthanded, where Husso robbed him when he sprawled across. O'Connor made a great pass, and Manson made a big save on the 2-on-1 to keep the game 1-0 at that point. But Parayko and Leddy, you're going to have to, Thomas and Tarasenko are going to have to continue to be difference makers. They're going to have to continue to score big goals. They need to be a key factor in them winning. And you got to hope that for St. Louis, like I said, you got a fourth line. You got to hope they can outplay the veteran-laden fourth line of Colorado. You got to hope that your team can get a few good bounces because you are the inferior team. You're playing a superior team, but to me, St. Louis is a smarter hockey team than Colorado because this is something Colorado might have to address as the playoffs go on. I truly believe this. Cale Makar is an elite defenseman. He's one of the best in the world. That's no big shocker there. Devon Toews has changed his career because he's finally found a partner where he knows how he's going to be, he knows where he's going to play, and they're a fantastic defensive pairing. One of the best in the NHL, bar none. However, Colorado, Byram, I think, is playing really well, looks extremely comfortable. But Eric Johnson, Jack Johnson, these defensemen are not strong. You have Eric Johnson and Jack Johnson playing together, and then you with Sammy Girard being out with a broken sternum, and you have Manson playing with Byram. Taves might have to go with one of these guys. What I think they might have to consider, it might not be in this series, but you're going to see a weakness. You're playing against McDavid. If you play the Oilers in the next round with all that speed and all that offensive creativity, you're going to have to do something to counteract it. And my thought is, well, Devon Toews is a great player. He's a strong defender. He also brings offensive game. I would put Devon Toews with a guy like Jack Johnson, because I think Jack Johnson is the worst defenseman when it comes to defensive play. Put Eric with Cale Makar. It might not, like I said, it might not come in this series, but there's more than just this series. If you win it, you're going to have to continue to move forward. You're going to have to continue to win games, win big games, and prove that you're not the same team that you were. So that's something I'd look out for, because I don't fully trust this team yet, that they're dialed in, that they have all the pieces in place. I still think they're missing something. This team is too good to be just mediocre. They should have won the game last night. They threw it away. And that could just be them not having that killer instinct yet. I've talked about that with, teams like Toronto, teams that are always there, but they can't seem to get over the hump. We'll see if the Edmonton Oilers have that tonight, where they can clinch a series on the road. But it's certainly interesting. And great game last night. I wrote this in my notes after the first two periods, because I thought Darcy Kemper was really solid. And I said, Colorado's never had just even solid goaltending in the playoffs. They've had decent guys. Grubauer's never been great. You had, a cascade of guys in the bubble series where they lost to Dallas, where you had, just Pavel Francouz was playing. Then you had to go to Michael Hutchinson. He was playing in the game 7 against Dallas. And you're just like, okay, we need somebody here. We need a stable goalie. And Darcy Kemper has been that guy. And he needed to make a few saves last night, because there's nights in the past where his teams bailed him out, where they score a bunch of goals and they find a way to win. Last night, he needs to make a save or two. That Bozak goal, make a save. The Thomas game winner. It's not all in the goalie, but if Colorado's going to go very deep, they're going to need their goaltender. But I had St. Louis winning this series before it started, and I said I was going to be wrong because of the Bennington injury and just some of the, St. Louis is a banged up team, and they don't have all their pieces right now. Last night's game was a stunner, and I'm just wondering if it's a stunner that, if it's a volcano that erupts and it affects the city for ages, or if it's just a small little one that you get an earthquake, you're like, okay, it's over, and then you're moving on with your life. If it's something that has a major effect, then you can see St. Louis possibly get back in this series, potentially even win it, because they have the pieces to do that. I truly think so. But they need to continue. They need to play better off the jump. They weren't ready to play last night. They found a way to get back in the game. I don't think you can get away with that often against a team of this caliber like Colorado. But kudos to them. You survived a Nathan MacKinnon masterpiece, And that's got to be frustrating for Nate because you have a game where you're looking to go to a conference final. You've never been to a conference final. You have a game that puts the stamp on the series. You get a hat trick, 4 points. It's your night, and you still can't find a way to win. So for Colorado, you haven't been to a conference final yet with this group. You had a great opportunity last night. You flushed it away. I'm intrigued to see what this team has when it comes to mental resolve, when it comes to mental toughness and getting over that hump. Because it might just be the old Colorado Avalanche where you see them fold in the biggest moments. Because they did last night. You gave that game away. You had a 3-0 lead and you coughed it up. Friday night's really important. Yes, you're on the road, but Colorado won their first 2 games in St. Louis, so they can win there. If they lose Friday night, Game 7s, you never know. Yes, St. Louis will be coming in on the road. Colorado, I'm sure, would be the betting favorite on FanDuel, but Colorado's won Game 7s. St. Louis has won Game 7s. Colorado has found nothing but failure in the second round. I advise them to win tomorrow night. And I mean that. I'm going to say the same thing about the Rangers-Canes tonight. I have this theory about that game where I think the series can be done in 6 if one team wins and it goes the other way, and you might not even come close to winning the series if you lose tonight. For St. Louis, obviously you want to stay in it. But I think if you can win tomorrow night, I'll say this. The Blues win tomorrow night, they win the series. St. Louis Blues will win this series if they find a way to win tomorrow night. There'll be a Game 7 on the road, but I will bet them on FanDuel. I'll put $100 on it. I'll do something. We'll put that out on. I think if there is a Game 7, it'll be on Sunday. I'll put that out. That I'll put money on St. Louis to win. They'll be road dogs. I'll take them. No, they need to find a way to win tomorrow night. They're still beat up. They're going to be the underdog going into tomorrow night. But if they can find a way to to claw out another victory tomorrow night, they will win this series. That's how I look at it. Game 7, St. Louis is taking it. They'll go to the conference final. We'll see what they can do tomorrow night. But really, really fun game. And kudos to St. Louis for having that mental toughness. You got Berube behind the bench, just the way they do business. They were not going to fold and give up that easy. And they proved that last night. I'm going to get to Rangers-Canes in a minute, and I have a theory about that game, and it ties into actually the NBA series. But Oilers-Flames. Oilers have the opportunity to finish the series in 5 games tonight in Calgary. I think the Oilers come in tonight with little pressure. And the reason I say that is that they won both games at home to start this series. They are playing with house money. They're playing like the superior team. Connor McDavid is playing great. I'm not saying they should throw the game tonight, but I don't think sky is falling. I think it's a very different scenario than if the Rangers lose tonight in Carolina. I think Edmonton has to. I think they should try to win, play well. You're going to get some rest, potentially when it comes to waiting for the conference finals to start. But excuse me. But I don't think they should feel that pressured. They're playing better. Their goaltending's been better, which is crazy to think. But what tonight's game is I mentioned St. Louis's toughness last night. Their mental toughness, not giving up, being down 3-0 on the road. You could have folded, but you didn't. Well, Calgary, there's 2 players for me where I just look at them square in the face and I say, do you want to make this a series? Do you want to make it competitive? Because if you 2 play well, then you got a chance. If you don't, you're heading home. Book your flight to Cancun right now. Those 2 players are Jacob Markstrom and Johnny Gaudreau. Markstrom's easy because he's the goaltender. Goaltenders are the most important players in any playoff series. They're just like quarterbacks. They're the most important position in all of pro sports. If your goalie stinks, you can get 50 shots. If you only allow 10, if the goalie's awful and he lets in a bunch, you're still going to lose the game. That's why shots on goal can be a deceiving stat, because it doesn't matter how many shots you get. Do they go in? Are they high volume scoring chances? Well, the Edmonton Oilers haven't even, haven't been even getting that high quality scoring chances. Sorry, my voice is terrible today. But still battling this head cold, but we're going to get through it, hopefully. But they're scoring. Nugent Hopkins in front of the net. You got tap-ins from Evander Kane. Markstrom hasn't been good. You're paid $6 million a year. You got a 6-year contract. You're one of the best goalies in the world. Okay, great. And this might be a fault of mine where the regular season awards are really, they're becoming so irrelevant to me. Because whatever you do in the regular season, if you don't back it up in the playoffs, then who cares? Regular season is just that. It's a regular season. You play 82 games. Great. You won a major award. If somebody could win the Hart Trophy or the Conn Smythe, I can tell you which one to me is way more valuable. Andrei Vasilevsky will never win a Hart Trophy. I can almost guarantee that. He's got a Conn Smythe. He might win another one this year. It's more valuable than any Hart Trophy that, a Kucherov or Matthews or McDavid will ever win. But, Markstrom is nominated for the Vezina. Maybe he'll win it. I think Shesterkin will. But I think it's a really tough position. I think it's a really tough look, I should say, that you're in a playoff series where you're Jacob Markstrom. You're the man. And you're looking across the ice and your opponent is a 40-year-old wash goaltender. And you can't beat him. You can't beat Mike Smith. You overcame Jake Ottinger, but you can't beat Mike Smith, mano-a-mano. Yes, there's other players on the ice. Yes, McDavid's there. And Kane and Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl in the works. But also you're looking at it saying, excuse me, you're also looking at it saying, like, holy crap, Mike Smith is over there, and I couldn't beat him. I couldn't beat Mike Smith. Like, he's a 40-year-old man. Sure, great guy, great locker room presence, whatever superlatives you want to throw in there, good for Mike Smith. But he's still Mike Smith. He's still an old-ass man, and you couldn't beat him? Markstrom needs to be the reason they win tonight. Because Calgary is not going to match Edmonton when it comes to scoring goals. We know that. If Edmonton gets more than 4, they're winning the game. And I think they'll win pretty handily. Now, the other player that has to be great tonight is Johnny Gaudreau. Tonight could be Johnny Gaudreau's last game in a Calgary Flames uniform. Unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Maybe he comes back, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he decides to leave. He goes out east. That's been rumored forever. He wants to go to potentially go to Philly, have fun there. Maybe New Jersey offers him a big sum of money to pair him with Dougie Hamilton and Jack Hughes and the other great American talent they have there. But, I mean, he had that Game 7 moment where he got the OT winner. He's had some good moments. Matthew Tkachuk has been okay. Lindholm has been steady. But Johnny Gaudreau, you were brought here. You're the special player. You're the face of the franchise, if you will. This is your moment. This is where you have to come out of the woodwork and prove yet again that you're Johnny Gaudreau. You're the man. You're the best player on this team. Because so far in this series, he's been just a jag. He's been just a guy. You could argue in the last 3 games, the most noteworthy, the most pertinent Calgary Flames forward has been Milan Lucic because of the fact that he's been running into the opposing team's goaltender. That he's been running into Mike Smith. They've been getting into altercations. That's been something that's been talked about. That's something that I think is top of mind, where he's been the focal point of the team because he's always involved. Gaudreau, there's too many times where he's got Artemi Panarin syndrome, where he's Mr. Perimeter. He's on the outside. He doesn't want to get to the middle of the ice. He'll settle for an outside shot. That can't be the thought tonight. unless other guys are stepping up. And we haven't exactly seen that from Backlund, from guys like Mangiapane, Dubé. These guys have been quiet. So you need to be a difference maker. You need to be a great player tonight. You need the guys to go with you. Kachuk, you need Elias Lindholm to show up as well. But you need to be the drink and have the straws stir it. You need to make yourself available. In this scenario, you have to be the focus. You have to be the focus. You have to be the centerpiece. And I apologize. My voice is struggling. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go as long as I do today because it's not having a good one here. Thought I was getting better. Not so much. So I think the Flames win. I've been thinking the Flames have been winning the last couple, and they haven't. But I think the Flames get the win tonight because I think the Oilers are going to play a little loose. And again, I don't think they're going to throw the game, but I don't think they should be that worried. And you're up 3-0, you're up 3-1 in a series. I don't care what anybody says, you're not as desperate. Colorado got comfortable last night. What happened to them? They lost the game. They'll come out different in Game 6. Let's talk about Rangers Canes here for a minute, and then we're going to come back tomorrow because this voice and my nose can't sound great on audio. So Rangers Canes. I never look great on video because I got this. But Rangers Canes. I view this identically to the Celtics Heat series. Picked the Celtics last night. FanDuel got the win. Picked Jason Tatum to have over 30 points. He didn't because he couldn't shoot. Well, that whole game, nobody could shoot. It was an ugly, ugly affair. But I view this the same way where I said the Celtics got to win. They're going to win Game 5 in Miami. They'll win the series. They won last night. I think that series is done tomorrow night back at the TD Garden. The Celtics will book a ticket back to the NBA Finals. It'll be their first time back to the NBA Finals since 2010 when they lost to the Los Angeles Lakers. In this scenario, Canes are undefeated at home. They are winless on the road. The Rangers need to win tonight. If the Rangers win tonight, they win Game 6 at home. They finish the series in 6 games. I had the Rangers in 6. We'll see what happens. To me, it's a huge game for the Rangers tonight. Win it tonight. You can finish it at home. Shesterkin's been great. I don't worry about him. Sabinajad's been pretty good. I think I willed Robert Thomas and Tarasenko into a great game last night. So let's do it right now. Artemi Panarin. Let's go, buddy. I don't want to torch you tomorrow here to the point. I don't want to do it. I really don't. But if you're trash, I'm going to have to. So let's see a great game for you tonight. Get in the middle of the ice. Find some open teammates. Fox, all those players need to play well. But Artemi Panarin, you're paid the big bucks. You're a superstar. So let's have one of those games tonight. I like the Rangers to win on the road tonight. I'm going to look up the odds before I go, but I am picking the Rangers regardless. I know they'll be an underdog. Don't care. I'm picking the Rangers because I had them in the series. You go down with the ship. Maybe they can find a way to win a Game 7 on the road. I doubt it, especially in Carolina. If you're going to do it tonight because it needs to happen. You need tonight's the night to find a way to win one of these tight games, to figure it out, because it's only going to get tougher as it goes on. You don't want to be on your face in another game back in Madison Square Garden, regardless of Carolina's inability to win. Yeah, so Carolina's they're 1.5 point favorite. So New York Rangers plus 1.5, taking those odds tonight. And NBA, I don't love the NBA spread tonight just because it's just one game. I think the Warriors close it out tonight, personally. I think they sleptwalked the other night. I think they'll come out and play a better game tonight. They'll finish off the Mavericks. I think they're also going to see, okay, we're going to get some rest. The Celtics are going to finish their series tomorrow, so they'll both have a week off to prepare for the NBA Finals. And it felt like the Celtics were going to play the Warriors a number of years ago, and it just never happened. So now they'll finally get the opportunity to do so. So that's exciting in and of itself. But we'll talk some. We're going to get to some baseball tomorrow. I promise. I said that yesterday, but I do have some notes. We'll touch on the Jays Angels game. We'll talk about the Mets, Aaron Judge, those type storylines, and also some headlines from Paris. And if Colin Kaepernick also has any news about his working with the Raiders, I want to touch on that tomorrow as well. So we're going to let the voice rest, hopefully get these sinus cleared out, and we'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy your Thursday night. We'll see you tomorrow, Friday, here on To The Point.